All right, everybody, I made the Desmos activity into a little slide deck here. I'm just going to go through, hopefully clear up any misconceptions, answer any questions you have. All right, so renting the hall. Student council is planning on a spring celebration, but they need some money. So they go to the PTA and ask for $825 to rent a hall. The PTA agreed, but said it would charge 2% simple interest each week. That's important. Until the loan is paid back. Ms. Becker explained to the students that the amount of the loan is called the principal amount, and until the loan is paid back, 2% called the weekly interest rate of the principal amount will be added each week to the amount owed. How much money in interest will the PTA charge each week? So essentially, we just want to find 2% of 825. To do this, you guys are all experts at percents now. Convert this to a decimal, 0.02 of means multiply 825. And if we plug that into a calculator, we're going to get 16.5. But remember, it's money, right? So let's answer this in a dollar amount. So 16.5 is really $16.50. All right. So, okay, all this information is the same except for the question, which is if the student council borrows 825, how much will it owe after 1 week? All right, so if we have our weeks and we have money owed, at 0 weeks, which is when they borrow the money, right? Like that instant they borrow the money, it's 825. This is kind of like Gustavo's savings account, if you guys remember that from way back. So after 1 week, they owe the 825, and they also owe 1650 more, right? Some of you said just 1650, and if that's the case, I would love to borrow some money from you. Because if I can borrow $825 and after 1 week all I owe you is $16.50, that seems like a pretty good deal, right? So this total is $841.50. All right. All right. So now, how much will it owe after 3 weeks? And then it goes to 8 weeks, right? So you can kind of see hopefully where this is going. For 3 weeks, it's 825 plus 1650 plus 1650 plus 1650, right? Which is, I'm gonna use my calculator here. I believe that should be $874.50. But you see what's happening is you're just adding 1650 every time. Right now it goes to 8 weeks. Well, you guys know what kind of person I am. I'm not going to add 1658 times, right? I'm just going to multiply. So after 8 weeks, the lazy way to do this, aka the best way to do this, is 825 plus 8 times 1650, right? And 8 times 1650 is 132. So I have 825 plus 132, and the student council would owe $957, right? But the key with this is really just this idea that we can sort of just multiply by the number of weeks, multiply that interest rate by the number of weeks. All right. Student council members realized that they would also need funds before the event to pay the DJ and photographer a deposit. They will need a second loan of $1,000 to pay these two expenses. If the PTA also charges them 2% weekly simple interest for this loan, how much will it be added to this loan each week? Well, again, this is just finding 2% of $1,000, which is 0.02 times 1,000, which is $20. Right? And the student council member, okay, so yada, yada, yada. The PTA has decided to cover its costs. It only needs to earn $18. So as they say, look, $20, that was too much, right? We're not trying to make money off the kids. We just need $18. So what percent would they have to charge? Well, if we start with $1,000 and you don't know what my scale factor is, that's my x, and that's going to equal, we want to know what is going to equal 18, right? 1,000 times what equals 18? So if we divide both sides by 1,000, we get x equals 0.018. Now write the percent as a decimal to avoid confusion. Okay, well, I don't know. You write both, right? That's the scale factor. The percent is 1.8%. Which should make sense, right? We found 2% was $20. So whatever $18 is, it better be less than 2%, but just a little bit less than 2%. And 1.8% is definitely a little bit less than 2%. All right, a loan agreement between the student council and the PTA has finally been reached, but the PTA will not loan the full money requested. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. You go to your parents, you go, hey, look, I want to buy this thing. I want this much money. And they say, no, we'll give you some money, but not as much as you want. To make sure everyone understands the agreement, the PTA created the table below. Work with your team to finish the table. I am going to do this the lazy way. Instead of writing 1875 3 times, I'm just going to multiply it by 3. And down here, I'm going to multiply it by 4. I'm going to be so lazy that I'm going to leave these for you guys to figure out. Notice, and this is the big mistake here, is we're only multiplying this 1875 by 3 and by 4, right? The principal amount stays the same, right? You don't get to multiply the principal by the number of weeks. That would be way too much. All right. So they made this table the lazy way because, well, they're not lazy, or the non-lazy way, I should say. So based on this table, how much will the student council borrow? Well, I can just look and say, like, this is the number that's not changing, right? So that's the principal. So they're going to borrow, the principal is 1,250, right? Which is this information. And what is the percent interest? Well, we know the interest is 1875 per week, right? So now I have to figure out what percent, right? 1875 is what percent of 1250? So we'll set up an equation, right? Start with my original, which is 1250. My scale factor is unknown, and I want that to equal 18.75 divided by the coefficient. That goes to 1. X equals, go to my trusty calculator here, 0.75 divided by 1250 is 0.015. And they said write your percent as a decimal. I don't know. I think you guys should be able to write this as a percent also. So this is my scale factor, but my percent interest they are charging is 1.5% interest. And this is the scale factor. Okay. All right, so the student council president wants to be able to check quickly how much, so we're going to write an equation here. use your table. Okay, so if we have x is going to equal number of weeks, because that's my unknown here, right? At any point, right? At any number of weeks. So if x is my number of weeks, if we kind of like do the 5D process here, we're always going to have this 1250, right? And then we're going to add 18.75 x times. So this is my expression. 1250 plus 18.75x. And this down here says equation. I don't know. All right. I mean, I guess you could write, yeah. We're just going to leave it as an expression. And now we're going to use this. So the president figured out that if the student council does not pay off the loan by the end of the school year, it would owe $1,500. How many weeks of school are left? All right, so now we have to calculate. Remember, how many weeks? The unknown here is x. X represents number of weeks. And now we can take this expression and make it into an equation. And I'll write it in our sort of standard form with the variable term first, 18.75x plus 1250. Again, that's just this, right? Rewritten in the other order. And now I can make it an equation because I know a value that I want to solve for. So I want to know what is x when this equals 1500. So now I'm going to subtract 1250 from both sides. And I have 18.75x equals 250. And divide both sides by 18.75. And x equals 13.333. So if it has a decimal, round to the nearest hundredth, which again doesn't make sense. So look, the answer they're looking for is 13.33 weeks, which is not an actual figure. Like you can't have 0.33 of a week. That's a third of a week. So that would be like 2 days and a few hours, right? That's not how this works. So I don't know. If this is a test, I would say like 13 or 14 weeks. I don't know, probably 13. But that's like if you're having a conversation with somebody, that's how you would expect them to answer, right? In a number of weeks, not some weird decimal. So hopefully that helped. We got a formative to do some more work with this. And then I think we will do a little GIM kit on Thursday and Friday this week, and maybe some more problems as a class too. Thank you guys.